Hello everybody, and welcome back to another Game News Roundup. We'll be starting today's video on the latest VGChartz estimates for the final week of 2022, the week ending December 31st, 2022. Lifetime estimates, we currently have 121 million for the Switch, 30.63 million for the PS5, and 20.36 million for the Series X and S. Microsoft did release its earnings report. While we didn't get any exact figures, we got enough data for them that show that we were over-tracking it. So we have adjusted it down to be more accurate based on the little bit of information we have. Every time more data comes in, I always say we make more adjustments. And over the next couple weeks, Sony and Nintendo will also be releasing their earnings report. So depending on what they say with their shipment figures, they specifically release shipment figures. There's always a gap between sell-through and shipment. We might be doing some more adjustments to our Switch and PS5 estimates. But for now, currently, for the final week of December 2022, Switch, the best-selling console with just over 542,000 units sold worldwide. PS5, 382,000 units sold worldwide. And Series X and S, 211,000 units sold worldwide. In North America, 142,000 Switches were sold, 138,000 for the PS5, so pretty neck and neck, and a little bit behind Series X and S, 111,000 units sold. In Europe, Switch, number one again, 130,000 units sold, just a hair under 100,000 for the PS5, and 63,000 for the Series X and S. And in Japan, unsurprisingly, Switch is number one, 167,000 units sold in Japan. PS5 sales, after pretty dismal sales all year, last handful of weeks have been relatively good for the PlayStation 5 in Japan. Almost 60,000 units sold and a hair over 1,100 sold for the Series X and S. And also PS4, we got about 4,600 estimated units sold. And now, an 87 for the Xbox One. We've got very little data, but this is it for the Xbox One. This was the final week we'll be tracking Xbox One estimates. So starting in 2023 estimates, that'll be gone. But we'll be continuing PS4 estimates through 2023 because there's all of a sudden more stock of the PS4 available. So we'll continue tracking the PS4 through 2023. As I mentioned on the website before, but I don't think I've mentioned on here specifically, we're making a change in 2023, which should make our initial estimates more accurate, but they will be coming out later. I'll be posting all the weeks of a given month at once by region/country. So Japan data usually comes out first towards the beginning of the month, so when all of the data comes in for Japan for a specific month, we'll post all 4 or 5 weeks for that specific month for Japan. When U.S. data comes in, data we collect, and then NPD comes out, we'll post all 4 or 5 weeks for the U.S., Canada, and Latin America all at once. Same with Europe data, the data we collect, and then there's monthly reports for the U.K. and mainland Europe and stuff. We'll put all that together, and then we posting that stuff once a month. Again, these should be a lot more accurate for our initial estimates. They're not going to be perfect, but they'll be more accurate than they were before. And then obviously once all those are out, I'll post the rest of the world data, and then worldwide data we posted last after all that stuff is done. These will be done once a month, spreading it out. So these weekly breakdowns will be once a month, but I will do one specifically for Japan, one specifically for the United States, one for Europe, and then obviously a worldwide one. So there'll still be 4, but it'll be specifically monthly sales data. And for the hardware chart, which is still being worked on, mind you, we're going to have 2 hardware charts. One with the weekly data, but with a drop-down, hopefully, our coder is still working on it, a drop-down where you can see all the other weeks for the current month. So say it's, right now, right? Say it's, monthly data. You have a drop-down, you can see the other weeks for December. You click on it, and you can show all the other weekly data for the other weeks. As well as one hardware chart for the specific data for the month. So all of the sales for a given month will be there as well. So 2 hardware charts. This is one to make my life a bit easier and to make our estimates hopefully a bit more accurate than in the past, which is I want them to be as accurate as possible, and there's only so much data available. Some stuff we only get once a month, so that is a change we are working on. But anyways, going into the breakdown here for the weekly sales. Generation over generation, both consoles are down compared to their predecessors. PS5 sales compared to the same week for the PS4 in 2015 are down by over 145,000 units. Again, obviously, as you all know, the PS5 stock has been limited. Even though stock has improved quite a bit, there's still some limited stock, especially across Europe. There's been a lot of there wasn't much stock in Europe, relatively speaking. US was actually much better. And Series X and S, compared to the Xbox One, sales are down by nearly 20,000 units. But yeah, the PS4 sold 527,000 units, estimated, for the same equivalent week where the PS5 sold 382,000. Xbox One 231,000 versus 211,000 for the Xbox Series X and S. Year-over-year sales, PS5 sales are up by 53,000 units, or 36% increase year-over-year. Not bad when, for the first many, 6 months plus, where PS5 sales were down year-over-year because of very limited stock, and now up 36% for the same week. And Series X and S sales are essentially flat compared to the previous week with sales up just 48 units, but considering the margin of error, that's well within our margin of error. And Nintendo Switch sales are down by 35%, only 6.1%, but overall for the year was down, I forget, 18 or 19%, something like that, year over year. Week-on-week sales, all three consoles are down, unsurprisingly. This being the week after Christmas, sales usually go down quite a bit in that final week of the year, and then go down quite a bit more in obviously the first week of January because the holidays are over. PS5 sales are down over 321,000 units week-on-week. Series X and S are down nearly 259,000 units, and Switch sales are down by over 378,000 units. Our current latest estimates for 2022, for all of 2022 now. Switch, estimated 19.59 million units estimated sold. PS5, 13.64 million units, and Series X and S, 9.29 million units sold. Again, if we get more data, adjustments do occur, especially with Sony and Nintendo releasing their earnings report in the next week and the week after that. Adjustments could occur depending on what information they give us. But we do know, Sony did announce at the end of 2022, PS5 sales were above 30 million. Not that they said how much above, but it is above 30 million, and we do have 30.6 million sold lifetime for the PS5 now at the end of 2022. And I think that's about it for the latest VGChartz estimates, again, for the week ending December 31st. And now Microsoft/Xbox released their earnings report, and man, it was not good. I mean, parts of Microsoft were fine, but Xbox, I mean, it could have been worse, but it wasn't great. For the quarter ending December 31st, 2022, Xbox gaming revenue was down 13% year-on-year from $5.44 billion to $4.76 billion. Specifically, and also Xbox content and services revenue, which is basically like games and DLC, Game Pass and stuff, Xbox Live Gold, was down 12%. Microsoft said this was due to a stronger prior year comparable with a decline in first-party content and lower monetization in third-party content. And which was partially offset by growth in Xbox Game Pass subscriptions. Holiday 2021 saw the release of Forza Horizon 5 and Halo Infinite. And this year saw Pentiment. I think that was it for first-party games for Xbox. So, and Xbox hardware revenue decreased 13% year-on-year, which Microsoft said this was driven by lower price, which, again, the Series S was discounted by $50 in the U.S. Potentially, some retailers even had it below that. And the volume of consoles sold, which, so for the last quarter of last year, October, November, December, year-over-year sales were down compared to 2021. But obviously, there was actually the first half of the year of 2022, Xbox was seeing record sales for Xbox. And then, without a big holiday game, well, you saw what happened. Sales tanked. I mean, they didn't say how much they are down, but again, when I did our estimates, that stuff came out. I had to lower our estimates for October, November, December. So they were down year over year. While we had them up. Not a lot. But, from being up a little bit to being down a little bit, it adds up, And Satya Nadella, Microsoft CEO, in the earnings call did state there was a new record set for Xbox with 120 million monthly active users during the quarter. That's not just Xbox. That includes Xbox on PC, assuming Minecraft on PlayStation and Switch. Wouldn't surprise me if that is what that includes and whatnot. There was also new highs for the number of Game Pass subscribers, number of hours of gaming, and monthly active devices. And overall, Microsoft reported revenue was up 2% year over year to $52.7 billion. But net income, or profits, were down 12% to $16.4 billion. I know. Only $16.4 billion in profits? Oh, that's terrible. I'm kidding. That's a lot in profits. And I suspect the fact they laid off 10,000 employees, which seeing that those number of profits is like, do they have to lay off that many employees? But, you know, I don't run Microsoft or other tech companies. A lot of tech companies have been laying off a lot. I know, is it Amazon laid off a lot? Google's laid off a lot. Facebook or Meta has laid off a lot as well. Like, a lot of the big tech companies have been laying off a lot of employees. But anyways, that is Microsoft/Xbox earnings report for the quarter ending December 31st, 2022. A few more things announced before the Direct. Actually, wasn't at the Xbox Direct, but Nintendo and Microsoft working together, because originally it was an N64 game, so Nintendo owns some rights to the game, but also so does Microsoft because they own Rare. But they announced GoldenEye 007 is finally leaving the N64 and is coming to the Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, the Nintendo Switch, and Game Pass this Friday, January 27th. Ness, what's up? No worries about being late. Hope you're doing well. But yeah, the Nintendo Switch version of GoldenEye 007 will be as part of the Nintendo 64 Switch Online collection. So it is for people who are available, people who are subscribed to the Nintendo Switch Online Plus Expansion Pass, which I think is $50 a year. Well, normal online is $20 a year. Could be wrong, but I think that's the prices for that. So yeah, GoldenEye 007, Xbox, Switch. I'm surprised not PC with how Xbox is, but Nintendo probably was like, yeah, not on PC. So yeah, game is available. Switch, specifically through the Switch Online Expansion Pack, as well as Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, and Game Pass. And earlier today, Microsoft held their Developer Direct. I was going to have all of the articles open for VGChartz, but I'm like, it's probably just easier for me just to have the Xbox Wire post. So you just have it all concise all together. So, 4 games were originally announced to be showcased, but they surprised us with announcing a new game from Tango Gameworks, the developers of Evil Within and Ghostwire Tokyo, called Hi-Fi Rush, a rhythm action game, which is available now on Xbox Series X and S and PC, as well as Game Pass. But the first thing they showcased, Minecraft Legends, which comes out April 18th on everything. Fairly certain. Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, PS5, PS4, Switch, PC, and maybe iOS and Android. I'm not 100% sure on that. And it should have crossplay, knowing how Minecraft games are. But coming out, launching April 18th. So Mojang Studios, in partnership with Blackbird Interactive, announced that the upcoming action strategy game Minecraft Legends will launch on Tuesday, April 18th. Within the story-driven campaign, players can explore a world filled with treasures and perils, reunite with familiar mobs, meet new mysterious characters, and strategize with allies and epic battles against the piglins. It'll also introduce a PvP mode, a first for the Minecraft series, where 2 teams of up to 4 players each work together to collect resources, build a base, and lay siege to their opposition's forces. Game Pass, PC, Game Pass, PC, Series X and S, Xbox One, PS5, PS4, Steam, and the Switch. I guess no mention of iOS or Android, so not on mobile. Also, they showcased some more gameplay of Forza Motorsport. I was kind of surprised at the end. It just said launching 2023, so there is no release date, which makes me think it's going to miss the first half of this year. Might be coming out in the second half, is my guess, since they didn't give us a release date now. I mean, I could be wrong. But, it might just miss the first half of the year, which is what is originally going to come out, since they specifically just said 2023. They didn't give any even window or month or whatever. But yeah, Turn 10 Studios showed how it's making Forza Motorsport look, sound, and feel real through its cars, tracks, and others. Also, if anyone wants to see the direct or any specific videos for any of these games, they're all up on YouTube. I would showcase them now, but I've been hit with copyright stuff here on YouTube myself, so I don't want to take that risk. So, but anyways, yeah. So yeah, Forza Motorsport, the latest Forza Motorsport game, delivering a generational leap in fidelity, immersion, and realism. It has ray tracing and all that stuff. I think they said over 500 cars at launch, 20 tracks, and more stuff to come over time. And also, yeah, the biggest surprise was Hi-Fi Rush from Tango Gameworks. Out of nowhere, boom, new game. It is available now on Series X and S, and PC and Game Pass. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Available today. Wait, what? That did surprise me. Well, if you're watching this on YouTube, well, you'll have missed it, but I'll be checking this out here on Twitch, which is where I stream this, twitch.tv/TrunksWD. Hold on. Wait, we got Dave saying in chat. Nessie is never late, nor is she early. Yeah, exactly. She arrives precisely when she means it, pretty much. Hope you're doing well, Ness. Yeah, Hi-Fi Rush is an over-the-top single-player rhythm action game in which the entire world moves to the beat. I have no rhythm at all, so I'm probably going to be bad at it, but I'm looking forward to checking it out. Players take on the role of Chai, I'm assuming that per character, a free-spirited slacker with rock star ambitions whose music player is fused in his chest. Chai must defend himself through rhythmic combat featuring licensed tracks from iconic rock bands, including Nine Inch Nails and the Black Keys, with the help of a motley crew of allies. Hopefully I don't get hit on Twitch by streaming this, but find out. Also showcased Elder Scrolls Online Necrom, the next expansion or update, whatever you want to call it, for Elder Scrolls Online, coming out in June. It launches in June. Will turn players to the alien lands of Morrowind to adventure in its unexplored eastern regions. The chapter will also introduces fans to most requested feature, a new playable class, the Arcanist. It will bring new abilities and mechanics and marks the third new class introduced since the game launched. And lastly, at the end, they showcase a lot of gameplay of Redfall. No rhythm, but you did so well in Hellslinger. Oh yeah, I did great, Emerald, in Hellslinger. If anyone watched me play Metal Hellslinger, I was terrible with the rhythm. Later on, they released an update from Metal Hellslinger where you didn't actually have to kill it, shoot on the beat. I was much better at it then, I don't have to worry about that. I have absolutely no rhythm. But yeah, Redfall. Arcane Austin pulled back the cloak on Redfall with new extended. It was probably one of the longest gameplays that they showed. Gameplay showcasing the open world. It is an open world game with wicked vampires, including a sneak peek at the mighty vampire gods. Player customization, psychic vampire nests, and much more. Arcane story-driven first-person shooter hits May 2nd on the Series X and S PC, and of course on Game Pass. Bringing single and multiplayer vampire hunting to the bloody streets of Redfall, Massachusetts. Arcane also announced the game's vicious pre-order bonuses and the upgraded Bite Back Edition, which has a hero pass for future additions to your vampire slaying roster, outfits, weapons, and more. So, originally, I remember when they first announced the game, Redfall, I was like, oh, it kind of reminds me of Left 4 Dead, but each character's, there's character classes, and there's vampires. But it's not that at all. I think it's more like Far Cry, with an open world, and you got different characters with classes. It does have co-op, or you can play it alone. It's up to you. So you got missions, you go around the open world, do different missions. I think there's some side stuff that they kind of hinted at. But yeah, it looks interesting. Also, looking ahead, as we announced previously, in order to dedicate the proper amount of time for a deep dive into Bethesda's game studio Starfield, a standalone show is in the works. We'll finally be seeing more Starfield, hopefully in the next 2 or 3 months. Fingers all across all the fingers. We're waiting so long for Starfield. Of course, Elder Scrolls 6 will be even longer because, well, that game isn't really in its main development yet. So, but yeah. Let's see, a couple more things beyond that. Justin Roiland, a Rick and Morty creator, has resigned from High End Life developer Squanch Games following the revelation that he's been charged with felony domestic violence in Orange County, California. So Squanch Games tweeted on January 16th, 2023, they received Justin Roiland's resignation. The passionate team at Squanch will keep developing games we know our fans will love while continuing to support and improve High on Life. So, yeah, Roiland, he was a co-founder and CEO of Squanch Games until his resignation on January 16th. And I believe Adult Swim, where Rick and Morty is on, fired him specifically. Fairly certain that's what happened. While at Squanch Games, he resigned himself following the allegations, being charged with felony domestic violence. So, Yep, you got a lot of good news, but there's always some bad stuff. And speaking of more bad news, we're going to end on a bad note. Blizzard lead Brian Birmingham has left Blizzard after 17 years due to stack ranking policy for employees. Yeah, he was the lead on World of Warcraft Classic, and 17 years at Blizzard. Stack ranking policy. It requires managers to rate its staff on a curve, which means they have to give about 5% of employees a low score, no matter what. Even if every employee does an amazing job, 5% of them has to get a low score, which means these employees could potentially miss out on profit-sharing bonuses, and it makes them less likely to be considered for a promotion. He left because this is a thing, and he wanted this to not be a thing, and he's no longer there. This is according to a report from Bloomberg, which then, on Twitter, he had a big Twitter thread that I wasn't intending to make this public, but apparently it's in the news already, so I'd at least like to set the record straight. I am no longer an employee at Blizzard Entertainment, though I will return if allowed to, so that I could fight the stack ranking policy from inside. So maybe if the Activision Blizzard acquisition is completed, Microsoft acquires them, maybe he'll come back and fix some of these issues. I am told the forced stack ranking policy is a directive that came from the top guys at Activision Blizzard King level, above Mike Ibarra, who runs, I think he's the head of Blizzard, so above him. I don't know for sure, but I suspect it's true. Everybody, and also Mike Ibarra came on more recently to lead Blizzard, relatively more recently. I don't know for sure, but I suspect it's true. Everybody at Blizzard I've spoken to about it, including my direct supervisors, expressed disappointment about this policy. For those who don't know, ABK is the parent company formed when Activision Publishing expressed their interest in buying World of Warcraft from Vivendi in 2008. Blizzard's market value was enough that Activision Publishing could not buy it outright. Instead, they arranged to form a new company called Activision Blizzard, which would own Activision Publishing and Vivendi's game division, including Blizzard Entertainment. Vivendi had 50% of the shares of Activision Blizzard at the time. In creating Activision Blizzard, they needed an executive, and Bobby Kotick from Activision Publishing was selected as the new CEO of Activision Blizzard, where he still is. Mike Morhaime, still president of Blizzard at the time, reported up to Bobby Kotick's staff at Activision Blizzard. Bobby and an investor group staged a hostile takeover, in quotes, meaning that they bought up more than 50% of Activision Blizzard shares. There's no actual violence in a hostile takeover, despite the name. I forget which year this happened, but it resulted in greater control. Activision Blizzard then required King, becoming Activision Blizzard King, or ABK. ABK was then a parent company of 3 different companies: Activision Publishing, say Call of Duty developers is the main reason, and then Blizzard, World of Warcraft, Overwatch, Diablo, StarCraft, King, Candy Crush is what they're mainly known for, not mobile games. The first year we were asked to meet a specific quota of developing of ratings was in 2020. In the 2020 evaluations across winter of 2020 and 2021. This was also the first year they tried to unify the review appraisal systems across all 3 child business units. Activision, Blizzard, and King all had similar appraisal processes by this point, and ABK wanted to unify them into one. Presumably, this was the motivation for enforcing a 5% developing rate to make it match in all 3 studios. I'm not defending this, only explaining. We at Blizzard pushed back pretty hard in 2021, and I truly believe we had reversed the developing quota policy when the sexual harassment lawsuit was revealed later that year. We saw some changes following that as well, and it felt like we could make an impact on ABK policies. The realization that there's still a minimum quota for developing, despite our objections and sternly worded letters, leads me to believe I was operating under an illusion. I hope Blizzard's positive culture can overcome ABK's poison, but it isn't succeeding in doing that yet. So having explained all that, I bear no ill will toward my former colleagues at Blizzard. Blizzard I knew and always wanted to work for is being torn apart by the executives at ABK, and it makes me sad. I truly respect the developers I worked with at Blizzard. I will still play Blizzard games. Developers at Blizzard are still amazing. Dragonflight and Wrath of the Lich King Classic are gems. Dragon Riding is amazing in Dragonflight, as is the Uldar raid and the new Titan Rune Dungeons in Wrath of the Lich King. But ABK is a problematic parent company. They put us under pressure to deliver, both expansions early. It is deeply unjust to follow that by depriving employees who worked on them their fair share of the profit. The ABK team should be ashamed of themselves. I must stress that the above is my recollection of events. It covers a lot of years, and human memory is notoriously imperfect. I do believe that the broad strokes are accurate. The developing quota is toxic. It is an ABK policy and is being forced on Blizzard. I can't tell you whether to boycott Blizzard games or not. How best to express your displeasure is up to you. As I said above, I won't boycott. But I can't participate in a policy that lets ABK steal money from deserving employees, and I can't be made to lie about it either. And to wrap up, I want to again clarify that I was surprised to see the Bloomberg article. Yeah, Bloomberg did release an article, which is where this broke. And now he did not provide them the email they're quoting from, and but he does believe the quotes are accurate. So yeah, he left Blizzard because of crappy stack ranking policy being forced, which sounds like by the heads, the executives at the top at ABK. So hopefully, I do hope a lot of policies and a lot of positive improvements do happen at Activision Blizzard King and all their studios if the acquisition by Microsoft is eventually approved. Fingers crossed that things get better for employees. I mean, it's not fair that everyone's working hard, but just because of these policies, some people are going to lose out on potential bonuses and potential promotions. It does suck. So, but anyways, that is going to do it for today's Game News Roundup. As always, hope you enjoyed. Hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you all next time for some more gaming news, VGChartz estimates, and the like. So, thank you all so much for watching. See you all next time.